Welcome to the CXPA sponsored webinar by SMG. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Leah Lee, and I'm a CXP program assistant with the CXPA. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be emailed to you later today. The recording will also be made available on the webinars page of the CXPA website. And for our CXP certified attendees, this webinar is CRC eligible and will be recorded in your account within 2 weeks. Now, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to enter them in the question box on your GoToWebinar control panel. We will have time for Q&A later on this hour. And now, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Josie to get us started.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Josie Geckel. I'm Senior Vice President of Client Insights, and I'm joined today by Kirsten Moore, who's a Director of Client Insights. We are with SMG, a leading experience management firm. And today we're going to talk to you all about ROI and give you ways to identify the tangible proof points behind your CX efforts. Over the past year, we have seen increased importance on the customer experience and a need to focus on all things related to the customer based on changing behaviors. That's maybe one of the silver linings of what has happened over this past year, if there are a few. Unfortunately, despite the increased importance of the customer experience, it hasn't made it necessarily any easier to prove the ROI related to CX. And so that's a little bit of what we'll share with you today. Kirsten and I have about 30 minutes of prepared content, so plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So please feel free to shoot your questions over to us. In terms of our agenda, we'll cover a few things. First, I'll share a little bit about who SMG is for those of you who aren't familiar with us or aren't clients today. And then I'll review the two very important foundational elements, or formula, if you will, for that ROI foundation when it comes to proving the ROI of your CX efforts. And then Kirsten's going to give you a great foundation for success when it comes to your CX program to ensure you can get that financial linkage. And of course, the fan favorite for all webinars, she'll share with you a few client examples. And then to wrap us up at the end, we have a couple takeaways for you. One is a proprietary ROI calculator, along with a recently published Forrester report about the total economic impact of partnering with SMG on your CX efforts. So without further ado, here's a little bit about SMG. We have 3 offices across the globe. We are headquartered in Kansas City. We also have offices in London and Tokyo, along with everyone's remote office today. So we're all over the place. We've been doing this for 30 years, serving and collecting feedback on experiences in 150 countries for over 500 brands. And as you can see on the right, we specialize and have a lot of penetration in both the restaurant and retail space. We also serve in the healthcare and services industry. And with that, we are collecting 1.4 billion annual feedback inputs. We are a little unique in the experience management space in that we aren't just a SaaS provider, which is what a lot of experience management firms are. At SMG, we are software with a service. So brands partner with us when they need a trusted advisor and some guidance and assistance, really getting to that ROI and uncovering actionable insights to really move the business forward. And that is truly what we were founded on. SMG was founded on the principles of the service profit chain. If you're in the CX space, this probably isn't a foreign concept to you, but what the service profit chain is, it's the idea that engaged employees are going to be more likely to stay employed with your brand and will provide better customer experiences. And when customers have better experiences with your brand, that will result in greater financial performance. This isn't just academic theory, although it was founded at Harvard by Len Schlesinger, who was a SMG co-founder. but it's actually proven out over our 30 years of experience in this space. We've proven it out over time through linkage with engagement of employees linked to improved customer experience and improved financial performance. What's important to get there and to get to this ROI and the financial performance is really having actionable insights related to what is it that is going to improve employee engagement and really drive that retention, which not for nothing in today's labor market, we all could use a little improved retention. And then as well, what is it specifically that will improve the customer experience and then link to financial performance? Unfortunately, while this idea and this theory is fantastic, what we know today is that business leaders say it's important to prove the financial impact, but not all CX professionals really know how. The CXPA partnered with West Monroe Group for a survey of CX professionals, and what they found was that in terms of importance, 9 out of 10 leaders said, yes, it's really important for us to be able to prove the financial impact of our CX investments. However, most of them didn't rate their ability to do so very high. And when asked how quickly they needed to prove the ROI of their financial benefits, they said, well, half of them said in less than a year. So that's where the ROI conundrum comes into play. It's really important. We need to prove the financial impact of our CX efforts, but not everyone feels very confident in their ability to do so. So with that, there are two really important foundational elements that I want to share with you to help you get there. Number one, when it comes to proving the ROI of your CX efforts, you want to make sure that your business case around your CX focus is incredibly targeted. Number two, that it is measurable. What is the potential benefit that you're going to receive based on your CX efforts? And two, how much does it cost to get there, right? We're talking about ROI. There is the cost of this investment, the opportunity, and the return that you will receive. Those things should be measurable. So what it's not is very high level, and we just talked about the academic theory of the service profit chain. You're not going to get much leadership buy-in for your CX efforts if you're going to state something like, hey, if we improve the customer experience, we're going to see greater financial performance. Well, yes, in theory, that's correct. We know one of the challenges for CX professionals today is ensuring they get the leadership buy-in for their efforts. And to do so, you really want to have a targeted CX business case. So I'll give you an example. If you are a restaurant brand today and you see in your CX results or in your financial results, frankly, that add-ons or side item sales are a little softer than you'd like, and we're not seeing great attachment there. Or maybe in the retail space or at a contact center that warranty purchases, that extra add-on of warranty purchases are a little softer than you'd like within your contact center. And we know from your results that this warranty purchase or this side item add-on not only drives additional spend on that visit or with that interaction with a contact center, but it leads to greater visit frequency. It leads to loyalty and return visits. That's going to be the target for my business case. I know that there's a financial return. This return is measurable, and I know that it's an opportunity for me to improve. Now becomes the other part that's very important to be measurable, which is the cost associated for making those improvements. That also needs to be very targeted. There are a lot of different ways that this can be tackled, whether that is with technology, maybe some enhancements to your mobile app to suggest those add-ons or that warranty. Maybe it's some training for the contact center agents or for the frontline restaurant managers on how to provide the most relevant suggestion that is going to ensure we get, one, that better experience, and two, that add-on sales there for the improved loyalty over time. So that's really what's crucial when it comes to proving the ROI and that business case, and having it targeted, measurable, both when it comes to the program and the financial return, will ensure success. Now, there are a lot of different ways to link to the actual financial results. I just gave two very high-level examples, but lots of different financials can link to CX efforts, and it's important that you are supporting and driving your brand's goals to achieve those business outcomes. A lot of times we'll hear folks talking about revenue growth as the business outcome that they're hoping to achieve. Everyone's looking for revenue growth, of course. That might be with generating new revenue from new customers or new channels, expanded product offerings, or it might be like the example I stated of increasing basket size, the amount of that transaction or that ticket through those warranty purchases or adding side items. With whatever that is, ideally, it's going to link to your brand's business goals, and that will really help you get that leadership buy-in for whatever your business case is to ensure success. For example, under growing existing revenue, one of the examples here is reducing return cycles, or let's say increasing frequency. For some of our clients today, maybe those in the jewelry industry or those in specialty foods, where a lot of their business comes in holiday time periods. They are reliant on a few key holidays throughout the year for their sales overall. And one of their business objectives for the year might be to increase frequency. Let's try to get these customers to come in one extra time. We know the value of getting one extra visit outside of a holiday and what that could mean for us. As a CX professional, to link your business case to that financial outcome that is also a strategic pillar for your brand will ensure your success in getting that buy-in. And so that'll be a great way to help with your business case. Two financial outcomes that are probably less often thought about, but just as important, are reducing churn or detractors. Think about the opportunity if you could decrease the proportion of customers that you are losing over time, especially in some industries where the proportion of customers who have not a great experience with a brand is higher. The financial benefit of decreasing the proportion of detractors is very high. And then probably most overlooked is driving operational efficiencies. This is a great way to have a great financial outcome in terms of reducing your costs to serve, also improving the employee experience with a better way for your employees to work that also then has a financial outcome as well. So that's really the foundation. Again, it needs to be targeted, it needs to be measurable. Ideally, it links to one of these financial outcomes that is critical to your brand. And then the other thing that we need to think about with all of this is really what's the formula for success in your program.
So we understand that effectively demonstrating ROI on your CX efforts can be challenging. After all, you are here attending a session to learn how to solve the ROI conundrum. So we want to walk through three key elements that go into the formula for ROI success. First, you want to ensure you have a holistic measurement plan. Second, you want to make sure you have accurate feedback and strong quality feedback. And then finally, targeted action. So I'm going to dive into each of these further. Great. And if we click through, it looks like we need to just grab the slides again. Great. So I'll click into each of these three. These key elements, great, are going to be pivotal to measuring the financial impact of CX. So let's start here with a holistic measurement plan. So measuring the financial impact of CX we know is critical. It's why you're here today and what you're hoping to learn from this webinar. And uncovering where to focus really requires a truly holistic measurement plan. Hearing from customers at all stages of their customer journey will allow you to identify where the biggest opportunities are and then help your brand prioritize which of those opportunities present the greatest ROI benefit. As an example, if you are a retail brand and you're only hearing from, let's say, customers who are shopping in your physical store locations, you likely won't be able to properly quantify your biggest opportunity with conversion from maybe online shopping on your website. Knowing that there's such a large proportion of browsers on your website, you want to make sure you're converting, and maybe that has the greatest impact to your business today. You should be thinking about and reviewing your customer journey and how customers are interacting with your brand, at least on an annual basis, to ensure you're hearing from customers across all touch points within the experience, especially as new avenues are tested and rolled out. Really, over the last year, we've seen this change for so many organizations as customers are interacting with brands in new and different ways, from things like curbside pickup to third-party delivery to buy online pickup in store and beyond. Every industry seems to have been impacted in rolling out new channels of how to interact with their customers and meet them where they are today. And this is exactly why having a holistic measurement plan is pivotal to determine the true impact of your CX efforts. Once you establish a holistic measurement plan, you'll want to ensure you're getting accurate and good quality feedback. Poor measurement, unfortunately, will throw a big wrench into your goal of seeing ROI from your CX efforts. First, you want to ensure you're capturing response from a representative customer base. One example, if let's say you're a restaurant brand and half of your sales are coming in from your drive-through, you'll want to ensure you're hearing from that set of customers to make sure that they're represented in your data as well, and you're hearing from them to really quantify the impact of their experience. You'll also want to ensure you're getting statistically relevant sample, so the data sample is reliable and then representative of your full customer base. Second, you want to be sure that your survey questions are capturing what's most important and are phrased in a way that can present reliable information. As your organization rolls out new initiatives and KPIs, be sure you're hearing from your customers on those topics to properly quantify the impact on the customer experience. As things are changing more rapidly now than they ever have, you want to ensure your survey and your feedback you're hearing from customers is dynamic and supportive of really where the organization is going. Third, while certainly not as fun of a topic, it's definitely an important one. Ensuring your data is valid and has strong data integrity. All too frequently, you maybe have heard a car salesman or someone like that say, "Give me all 5s on this survey," or "I need all 10s or I'm not going to get paid, or I won't get my bonus." If your data isn't valid because scores are being influenced by associates, it'll be hard for your leadership team to trust the data enough to prioritize those investments. Ensuring you're leveraging things like technology to get strong response from your customers and quality response, as well as real-time data screening through XM partners like SMG to ensure you're getting the best quality data. So once you've verified your feedback is both holistic and accurate, now the fun part can begin, taking action on the customer experience. Now there's a huge difference between being data-driven and being insights-driven. In fact, Forrester shared that insights-driven businesses are growing at an average of 30% more annually and are on track to earn $1.8 trillion by the close of 2021. At SMG, we also often use the phrase, "Don't ask unless you intend to act," with our clients, because we truly believe that taking action on customer feedback is what will drive your business forward. Now, here is a specific example that shows how SMG partners with our clients to go far beyond just data, but rather to provide insights that have a positive impact on their business. So with just data alone, kind of looking across the top row here, this brand would uncover that their overall satisfaction scores were lower. And then even on that first column there, they maybe would uncover that they had issues with their credit card readers based on looking at customer comments and uncovering the issue. But with just data though, and data alone, the story stops here. So the brand learned something, but nothing happened going forward. But this brand moved forward, worked through the insight, took action, and then ultimately saw a business impact. With action, this brand was able to train their associates on how to better handle common issues, train their call center agents to troubleshoot those credit card reader issues. They trained in-store personnel as well to change or repair the credit card readers that were having the issues, which allowed them to dispatch fewer technicians and work through the issues more quickly. With these actions, the brand saw great impacts on their financials. They saw a reduction in time to solve the issues for customers, so a better experience for them overall. And then they also saw $3 million of annual savings from this initiative. So again, taking it from data to the insights to the full action is where brands are seeing that true ROI come full circle. I'm going to share a few more brand stories on how other brands and organizations have successfully went from the customer feedback, data to action, and then ultimately to ROI. I know everyone loves hearing different brand stories and client stories, so I'm excited to share these with you all to give a little bit richer context on how brands are getting to action and seeing ROI with their customer experience programs. To continue with their international growth, Wendy's International recognized the need to address market-specific opportunities within its Latin America region. From their customer feedback, they knew that taste of food and speed of service were most important to drive customer overall satisfaction. So those are going to be the greatest impacts on the overall customer experience. They also learned and found a unique insight that there was a strong correlation between French fry temperature and customer return. I think we all could attest from eating fast food French fries, that is pivotal when you're ordering products, and especially in today's day and age where things are potentially being delivered as well. So what do they do with this information? They focus on the fundamentals. First and foremost, they monitor taste and speed really closely with their field teams to drive improvements in these areas. Once they started to see improvements on taste and speed, again, that foundation, they then honed in on the temperature of French fries. They shared customer feedback on fry temperature regularly with each location in that focus market to really keep it top of mind and track to see what are customers saying each day and how are we progressing on our goals. With these efforts, they saw a 4% lift in comp sales in the focus market, which is huge. So driving that additional revenue that Josie spoke about earlier, as well as a double-digit satisfaction improvement on key elements. So things from overall satisfaction with the experience to speed of service, all the way to that French fry temperature where they were really focused. Another example here comes from the UK. And Boots wanted to ensure they were still improving their customer experience despite the difficult climate created by the COVID-19 pandemic. Their associate training had always centered around the top drivers of satisfaction, as they knew that would impact the customer experience most. So they wanted to understand if the pandemic had caused a shift in what mattered most to customers. And despite, for this brand specifically, despite the unprecedented circumstances, their key drivers hadn't changed. And really the fundamentals of what mattered most to their customers were unchanged, which meant that their training program fundamentals could also still be applicable and used for their field teams. So armed with this information, they really dug back into their training programs to ensure this was such a focus during a tough time. They began pushing out reports from their SMG 360 reporting platform to help store level teams focus on key metrics to see how they were executing on the customer experience. They also rolled out a Hug 3, which is their associate training model focused on their key service standards to all stores. With the new training focus, they saw great impacts on generating additional revenue that customers spend. So they saw 31% lift in customer spend when all three pillars of that Hug 3, those different associate standards, were executed. And then they also saw there in the middle some positive impacts on spend lift, even when associates were just executing one of those elements of the experience. So maybe saying hello and greeting, understanding the customer's needs, or going the extra mile. And you can see there the incremental lifts that they saw from those different training initiatives. And not only did they see the ROI impact, they also saw the customer feedback was more positive and improved during this training. So customers are spending more and they're also happier with the experience. And then the last one, I love this story. So it's a great one to wrap up on with our client stories. Heinen's is a longtime partner of SMG who's always seeking innovative solutions to drive their customer experience. They found opportunities within their center store, being a premier grocery retailer, and center store is actually most frequently shopped. So they knew that they needed to focus in on the center store experience. Specifically, they saw that customers were unable to purchase everything they intended during their shopping trip due to insufficient item availability. And like many brands who have actual physical products, during the pandemic, item availability and product availability is a huge challenge for many brands. So once the team knew of this opportunity, they took two key actions. First, they deployed product availability alerts that were sent directly to store managers to notify them in real time about a customer who maybe couldn't find what they were looking for and what specifically was missing. Second, they invested in predictive analytics to uncover customer purchase patterns and then detect customer demand, which allowed them to be more targeted and thoughtful in their product stocking, knowing what trends were coming and what customers were looking for on that specific day or time. Following these actions, Heinz saw an impact of $250,000 on their bottom line over a 3-year period. They also saw an improvement on customer feedback, so about a 6 percentage point improvement on ease of finding products, a 3-point improvement on product availability, and then also a strong lift on overall satisfaction. So customers are finding what they're looking for, they're spending more because they're able to purchase those items, and they had a better overall experience. So really a win all around for this brand and all of these brands that we're highlighting here today.
I love these examples. Wendy's, I love because I love French fries, but all 3 of these examples are very targeted. Wendy's specifically focusing on the fry temperature, Boots specifically on 3 service elements that they know have a financial impact. It's great when you can, it's a comprehensive service plan, but it's also simple and easy to understand with 3 things to execute to drive the experience and sales. And for Heinz, I love the use of technology for real-time alerting so that you can impact the experience at that time is a great way to partner the software to provide a better service experience. So love these examples. These are great for you to think about if you're already measuring the experience and see how other brands are really applying the foundational principles that we talked about to really successfully prove ROI when it comes to they were all very targeted and they were also all measurable. If you aren't measuring the customer experience today, one place for you to start is to think about what the value is for your brand for improving the customer experience today. SMG created this proprietary ROI calculator to help brands with just that. This is an example for one of our proprietary ROI calculators. In this industry, the average transaction amount's $15. Average annual transactions, 172 million. And we applied our average year-over-year increase for an SMG client, which is a 3 percentage point increase in satisfaction, in moving customers from satisfied to highly satisfied. What you don't see on this calculator today that helps with the math behind the scenes is our proprietary tracked visit behavior that determines, based on the improved experience, how much more frequently a customer is going to return when they have a great experience. So that actual tracked visit behavior leads to, for this industry, an increase in 25 million in additional revenue over 3 years by improving the customer experience. So this would be a great way if you need to prove or help to prove for your business the value of focusing on the customer experience and improving it, what the ROI can be. Happy to talk to anyone if they want to get their specifics into this calculator. We'll share our contact information here in a minute and would be happy to connect with you on that. Another takeaway we have for you today is our total economic impact report of partnering with SMG for your CX solution. The ROI for SMG clients is 551%. This was determined by Forrester. This was their recent total economic impact report published just in June. They interviewed 4 clients ranging in revenue from 250 million to 14 billion, and found on average $15 million in total benefits, and that payback in less than 6 months. That part I think is pretty crucial, because if you think back to the survey results I found earlier, half of business leaders wanted to see the ROI of their investment in under a year. So happy to help you all do that today. And for all of you that opted in to connect with SMG following the webinar, we'll be sharing this with you today. That really wraps up our prepared content. As we discussed, the formula for success improving ROI really comes down to ensuring that your business case is targeted and it's measurable, so that you can measure both the costs, the benefits, and the actual CX efforts. And as Kirsten mentioned, having that holistic measurement and accurate feedback will really ensure that you can target the right action to see the most meaningful result. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up to any questions anyone in the audience has. If you haven't typed them in the chat, please feel free. We would be happy to answer any of your questions today.
We have a few coming in through the chat. So we'll kick off with this one. For you, Josie, what is the best CX metric to link to ROI? So thinking about the metrics, which one would be best to link and connect to ROI?
Great question. I don't know that we can ever get through a CX webinar without talking about what is the best metric. Oftentimes this question is a OSAT or NPS. I'm not going to give you a firm answer because there's no silver bullet. The answer is it really depends. It might depend on your industry, it might depend on your business case, or it might depend on the method or channel that you're measuring. For example, if you're measuring the brand experience versus the transactional experience, or if your industry is QSR versus retail, sometimes we see differences there. I would say the best approach, all of them are good metrics. NPS is a great metric, OSAT's a great metric. In general, most of them link to financials. Overall satisfaction links to financials, NPS links to financials. The best thing for you to do is to leverage your data and analyze in your business case what links the best to ROI. For example, the example I shared earlier, it was a little bit related to loyalty, a little bit related to overall satisfaction, and it was really related to suggestions, right? Product suggestions or warranty suggestions, and how that links to satisfaction as well as loyalty as well. So my answer was a little bit of a non-answer. It's all of the above.
That's great. Thank you. I'm going to jump to this next question. Given that measurement is at the foundation of a successful program, can you share how you help brands capture feedback throughout the customer journey? So I know I shared a good bit earlier on the importance of a holistic measurement plan, and this is absolutely right. It is the foundation of a successful program. So it's important to think about feedback in a number of different ways when you're thinking about how you're hearing about the customer experience. So it should be both solicited, so eliciting feedback, asking customers for their input, and then also unsolicited. So maybe you didn't reach out and ask specifically for it, but giving them that avenue of a place to give feedback as well. So a couple examples in this. On the solicited side, this is where you think of probably more of your traditional survey ask, right? So we're reaching out to customers, we're asking how the experience was. That can be done across channels. So we showed that view earlier of one customer journey for a mock brand. Your customer journey is going to look really different. So working with your XM partner to see, what is my customer journey? What are places where we could be getting feedback? So we partner with our clients on similar exercises to understand where are the gaps. So is online growing for your business a lot? We should make sure we're asking customers for feedback there as well. And then in store, if you have a traditional store format, that's an important avenue to hear about the experience. And then as new channels and new innovations are popping up, making sure you're asking customers about that is so important. And then on the unsolicited side, we've seen a ton of growth over the last few years on social ratings and reviews, especially at the location level. More and more, when you think about that starting journey of a customer beginning an interaction with your brand, they're going online and they're reading those types of reviews before they even decide which brand to visit. So making sure you're understanding those social ratings and reviews, which are unsolicited, is important, and linking that together with your full experience is very important as well. Great. Okay. Looks like so far, drop more questions in the chat if you have them. We have one additional here that we'll tackle as well. Great presentation, thank you. How would you advise a smaller company that's having trouble linking to their outcome or financial data? In big companies, there may be an army you can enlist to help you. But what about a smaller group that doesn't have those same resources? How can they convince leaders it'll be worth the effort to set up those data linkages? So I can jump in on this one. Josie, feel free to add as well. You know, I think that both large brands and small brands would each share they have their own challenges, right, that are unique. But what we did share today, there are definitely some investments that are involved in the customer experience. However, there are also some low-hanging fruit, if you will, on things that maybe don't cost as much or require as much resourcing. So thinking about what is my organization focused on? What would my leadership team want to see an impact on? Having those candid conversations would be a great foundation to make sure you're in the right place. To Josie's point, that's the right target that you're looking at. And then the second point is finding those ways to impact the experience that are maybe less costly. So thinking about a smaller training initiative, right, that might be just a reminder to field teams on where to focus and where to go. Use that from the grassroots up and just see what that does to impact the experience. As you can see, maybe that's a lower cost effort to start off with versus investing in technology or predictive analytics and items like that. So starting with, you know, lower cost efforts and lower efforts to begin can still have a great impact on the experience. Great. It looks like those are all the questions for right now. We'll give it just a minute if any others want to drop their questions in.
And here's our contact information while you're thinking about any questions that you might have. Please feel free to reach out to Kirsten or I after the webinar. We would be happy to connect if you'd like to walk through that ROI calculator for your brand. If you are that small brand that asked Kirsten, how can we do it today? We'd be happy to chat with you a little about some examples further as well.